morning, everyone. Welcome to Gulfstream Park today. It's a beautiful day here in South Florida. You can see there's some cloud cover out there. There hasn't been rain in a couple of days, so we are on a fast main track, a firm turf course. Exciting 12-race program ahead of us today, including 2 of the FTBOA Florida Sire Stakes, the Susan's Girl Division for the 2-year-old Phillies, and then we'll see the 2-year-old Colts and Geldings later on in race 11. That's the Affirm Division. Both really big fields. Ashley Mayu here alongside Brian Nadeau. Brian, I know yesterday we had some good races, we had some so-so races, but today I think the card is really intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the 2-year-old stakes. It's always exciting to see them stretching out as well. You know, 7 furlongs for the first time, and as we talked about yesterday, that precociousness of the 2-year-olds wear off a little bit. Now we see, you know, who can run farther on the path to bigger and better things. An exciting shipper from New York, from Bill Mott. So, yeah, a lot of intrigue in both of those races.
There's a couple of pick 4s, pick 5s today, as well as that Rainbow 6, which gets underway in race 7 with a $550,000 guarantee. Looking forward to seeing your ticket in a little bit. But with 12 races, let's just dive right into the action. A lot to get through this morning. We'll start in race 1 here. It's a maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds and upward with that claiming price of $12.5. They'll be going a mile here over the main track, and this is where that early pick 5 gets underway. I do have a ticket to show here. $36 play. I spread in the opener. I thought there were about 3 horses you could use, so I used all of them. I have some intrigue, especially in the outside 2 runners. Race 2, I'll just go 2 deep in here using the number 3, Living at the Beach, and the 5, Starship Malamar for Steve Dewoskin. Sammy Camacho back aboard that one today. Race 3, I spread once again. This is a very tough 3rd race on the card, going a mile over the main track. I'll use Lavi on the inside, as well as the number 3, Witch Hunter, and also use the number 4, Via Me. I think these 3 are really hard to kind of separate. You can kind of see they've been knocking it at the last couple races here at Gulfstream Park. Race 4, I'll use 2 runners in here. I think a lot of people like the number 6, Guaco. And I'm going to give the number 1, Here Comes Bullet, another try. I think last time out maybe had some issues. Guaco finished 2nd in that race. And then to wrap up the sequence, just 2 deep in race number 5. Counting on Kathleen O'Connell. She's got 2 runners in here. The number 6, American, of course, as well as the number 5, Kozmar, was pretty impressive, breaking her maiden, I should say, last time out. So a $36 play here in the early pick 5. Now, diving into this race, I'm curious, Brian, to see which direction you went in, because I think there are a couple ways you could go. I went towards the outside runners in here. You used a horse I don't have anywhere at all. I know you have some interest in the number 6, Sandy Dude, out of the Barry Croft barn. Disappointed a little bit last time, but I think when you go down the page, there are some good races from him.
Yeah, and if we're gonna show a replay of the race 3 back, and I think it's very relevant today. Here he is on the inside. Now there's a 1-5 Meteorito who wins this race. So here he is on the inside. You see him tracking a little bit. The favorite's going to win off. And now this is, I will mention too, this is the last time this horse was at the distance and at this level. You see last time 6, the time before that 7. We go the 1-turn mile today. He's under a ride a little bit here, entering the far turn as the favorite gets to shake clear a little bit. And now he's going to tip out eventually. And I just thought he showed a lot of interest late, Ashley. He was well clear of the 3rd place finisher too. This is a 1-5 now, getting away on the front end. And he runs on a little bit. And I think it was a very encouraging effort. Like you're going to see him here kick clear of 3rd. Puts a little scare in the favorite for a little bit. And I just think there's reasons to think back at the 1-turn mile today, back in for 12.5, a little bit of a drop in class and a little bit of a stretch out in distance. And here he is running on again late. I thought it was a very encouraging effort. Maybe we get the best of what Sandy Dude has to offer today, and just maybe that's a good enough. You look at the board here, we have a 7-2 favorite. So it's early in the betting, obviously, but it's a very diverse board here. You can go a number of different ways, and you look at our selections there. I have the 11 and 12, 3rd and 4th. You have the 11 on top. It's kind of that type of race.
Interestingly enough, the Sandy Dude has been piloted in the last several starts by Miguel Vasquez, who's going to, looks like maybe chose here to go with the number 11, Love Me Some Cajun, out of the Michael Yates barn. It's a busy day for the barn. I think they have 5 runners today. For me, I think the big thing is that most recent race on July 24th was going a mile for the first time on the dirt. It's the longest he's gone. It was his first dirt race in quite some time. He was part of that early pace scenario and tired. So I think just second time going long on the dirt, there's room for improvement.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, like you said, the barn's set up to have a really good day. Outside attack post with that elongated run into the turn. So there's a lot to like about Love Me Some Cajun. And to me, this is a spread race, Ashley. I would not want to be too tight here to kick off this early pick 5.
We'll quickly touch upon the horse that's taking a lot of the early money as the pools open. The number 4, Billy Yank, out of the Joe Orsino barn, taking a significant drop while also stretching out today from a 6.5 furlong event while against $35,000 maiden claimers.
Yeah, I mean, we saw this angle work yesterday with a dropper in this maiden claiming rig. And I think that's what people are betting on here, because this horse has not done a lot of running of late, but like you said, has been in against much better of late too. if he rebounds a little bit on the drop, shows a little more speed, he'll be right there.
We'll move on to race 2. It's a 1-mile turf event for 3-year-old fillies or 4-year-old fillies and up in mares that have not won 3 races in their career in for the $20,000 tag. And looking at this field, kind of there's only one scratch on the outside. The number 10 is out of here. I think we landed on the top 2. They kind of maybe stick out a little bit on paper. That's starting with the number 5, Starship Malamar, out of the Steve DeWaskin barn. A really respectable third last time out. It was second off the layoff, and it was getting back on the grass.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one race where we were pretty much in agreement. I think it's 5-3, 3-5. We went 5-3. The class drop here. 0 for 9 over the local lawn is a concern, but with that being said, as you alluded to, she's never been in this light. I think she's a big chance today to finally break through.
On the other side, I think someone who has 2 local wins here is the number 3, Living at the Beach, another one out of the Joe Orsino barn. Finished 5th last time out, beaten by 2 1/4. That was back in June. They've given this one about 9 weeks off or so to kind of gear up for this race. Going to take a little bit of a step down in class, and I think when you look at this one last time, I know it was 20,000 non-winners, a 2 lifetime. This one got the perfect trip in a big field, was able to draw clear.
Yeah, and she's tactical, she's versatile, she's got a perfect post for this 1-mile run. We know they're that quick run into that first turn. So, yeah, I think she's the other very, very logical contender in here. And after those 2, I think then things kind of open up a little bit.
Yeah, to me, it looks like those 2, and we go in a couple different directions here. We both use the number 2, Hot Babe, a little bit, but for me, I got to go with the top 2. Now, we'll move on to race 3. It's a 1-mile dirt event. This is a starter allowance optional claiming. This is for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. And this is where I think things get tricky. You can see that from our selections. There's a lot of different directions to go. You go to the number 5, Chez Paris, who was a winner last time out. It's going to step up in class today.
Yeah, if nothing else, I think there is a lot of speed in here. Chantel Sutherland's having a very, very good meet. This one came from the back last time and won for her. She's going to try to do the same thing today. Doubles in class, so obviously it's a rise, but she should be a square price, and I think the flow suits this one. Now, we saw yesterday the track was pretty speedy. Not a lot of horses making up late ground. That could be a little problematic here, but a stretch to a 1-turn mile with a lot of speed in front says maybe Chez Paris at a number late.
So I agree with you. I think on paper there's a lot of speed in here. And I go to the number 3, Witch Hunter, who I know took them basically gate to wire last time out. But this is a filly that has shown she doesn't need the lead to win. I know she faced several runners in here last time out, but 2 starts back, and she was second. One of the runners beat her in here, but she still closed from off the pace. So I think this one out of the Victor Barboza Jr. barn is versatile enough.
Yeah, I think she kind of fell on the lead last time, right? They only went 46-2. No one wanted to go. She took the initiative and on a good ride. But yeah, you see the win 2 or the second 2 back where she closed. If she gets run off her feet a little bit today, I think that's actually a positive because she can settle as well.
And another one that may sit off the pace here is the number 4 here out of the Rodolfo Garcia barn. Christian Torres back aboard. Piloted this 6-year-old mare 2 starts back to a pretty nice win where she beat Witch Hunter, Bimini. These are hard-knocking types always facing off, but she's another one. She won't be on the lead. I think that's probably safe to say. She should be maybe in the 2nd or 3rd spot early on.
Yeah, she'll get first run on my top pick, and if Witch Hunter settles, she'll be right there with her. And you're right, she's tactical to lay close and not get too far back, and that might be a spot you want to be in here.
We'll stay on the dirt here in the upcoming 4th race. This is for 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds and upward, which have never won 3 races in their career. It's a 5.5 furlong sprint, claiming price of $6,250. And we go in different directions here. I go to Here Comes Bullet on the rail. First off the claim for Bob Hess Jr. I know the last race, pretty disappointing when this one took a lot of play in there. Just wasn't necessarily up to par like we've seen from him in the past. But before that, had 2 nice wins. I know the waters maybe are a little deeper today in the sense that some of these horses have had better recent performances, but I thought this one was eligible for a rebound.
Yeah, I mean, she's a lot like my pick in that she can settle a little bit. This is another race where, at least on paper, there is a lot of speed in here. You look at that rousing win 2 back where she did just that. She took back, made a run, and looked really, really good winning. What happened last time, we don't know, but as you said, Bob Hess Jr. is having a heck of a meet here. Solid enough, 14% off the claim, and he wheels her back at the level. There's nothing wrong with that when you're running for 19,000. So I think she's a player here.
Now your top picks directly to the outside. The number 2, Nimble Beast, also first off the claim, but when you talk about recent performances, has been strong in the last 2, finishing 3rd. Change of tactics last time out as well. They decided to sit off the pace. The pace was contested enough. This one can make a late run.
Yeah, and it worked, right? I mean, it worked last time. They took her back a little bit, and she made a late run, and I think that's exactly what needs to happen today. As I mentioned, there's a lot of speed, especially to the outside. If he can reproduce that effort. Now, he's off the claim here in the barn, the Torres' barn, 0 for 8 off the claim, but you're going to get a square price to find out. Again, another horse that, to me, at least fits the flow of the race.
And one other one we'll talk about in here quickly, the number 6, Guaco, who last time out was second at this level, going a mile. My big reservation, I'll ask you, Brian, if it's the same thing. 2 for 22 in the career, has had a lot of attempts to kind of get this third win.
Yeah, and you can't really find the win. It's all the way at the bottom of the last win is all the way at the bottom of the page too. So yeah, I'm a little worried about horses like that haven't shown that they want to win. With that being said, he's a first-run kind of horse, settle off the speed in the last 2 races. Dirt, turf, he's in good form if nothing else.
Race 5 is an allowance optional claiming event for state-bred fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. 2 scratches in here to report, the number 1 and the number 8 race day speed. Both scratches, we'll wait for another day to see those in here. A couple directions you could go. We'll start with your top pick in here, the number 3, Tis Enough, 8-1 on the morning line. Now making that third start off the layoff, and last time out, didn't fare too well, but 2 starts back, it was a nice effort over the slop.
Yeah, I'm kind of going against what we just talked about. I mean, this is a horse of 1 for 18 with 8 underneath finishes, but this is another flow play, and I need a track. I need a fair track where horses are coming back if they're setting the pace today. And Tis Enough is a stalker closer in here in a race absolutely loaded with speed. You look at the 2, you look at the 4, the 5, the 6, even the 7. They all want to go in some way, shape, or form. So hopefully they do. Hopefully it comes back, and Tis Enough at what should be a square price can maybe run them down.
Well, you mentioned speed. Kathleen O'Connell sends 2 runners out in here, both that have early foot. We'll start with the number 6 American, of course, a 4-year-old filly by Awesome, of course. This is my top pick on a 3-race win streak. Broke the maiden back at Tampa, only in for the $10,000 tag, and has kind of stepped up with each start. We've seen improvement in terms of buyer numbers, and it's just been a runaway winner almost every time. Yeah,
and this horse gets all the best of it in the fact that he's the outside. She's the outside speed in here, so that's a good spot to be in. Does meet probably a solid crew here. Has wired the last 3 times, too. And I don't know if she makes the front here today, so that could be a little caveat. But, yes, she comes in raging form for a barn that's having a very good meet.
And to her inside is her stablemate, Cosmore. Just making that second start, was a winner on debut. And I wanted to show a trainer stat here for Kathleen O'Connell, just kind of looking at maiden winners last out the past 2 years. 22% from a large sample size of 65, 38% in the money with a $2.01 ROI. This is one that made her way kind of quickly to the front, drew clear. Was only in for the $50,000 tag last time out, but was a pricey purchase. Maybe they weren't sure what they were working with, but pretty big effort.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe the opposite. Maybe they tried to pull one over here because this horse won for fun. They paid $150 for this horse. Obviously, they liked how she looked, and she certainly ran accordingly last time. And now she steps up, faces winners, but off that debut, you have to be impressed. And she looks like she could be going places.
Move on to race 6. It's a 1-mile turf event for maiden claimers in for that $35,000 tag. And this is our first 2-year-old race of the day. I found this race very tough to handicap. A couple directions you could go in. We'll start with your top pick in here, the number 8, Just Plain Ornery for Victor Barboza Jr., a first-time starter.
Yeah, I mean, this is a stab. You kind of hinted on it. It's a spread race for sure. You know, second foal out of the dam. The first foal was a winner. That bodes well. Barboza, Zayas, that's a positive. We're not too far outside with this 1-mile turf. The scratch helps too. We'll move in 1 stall as well. It's kind of the dart landed here for really good connections.
We'll show a trainer stat here for Victor Barboza Jr. I know you liked this one. I ended up moving this one into my tickets. Just looking at 2-year-old first-time starters the past 3 years. Been very successful for the barn. 8 for 39, 21%, 51% in the money with a $4.18 ROI. Edgar Zayas in the irons today. One of his go-to riders, 21% here at Gulfstream Park.
Yeah. Well,
you're good.
I think that's the positive, too. Like you mentioned, Zayas is a board, and, that I think that signifies maybe a little bit of an intent.
Now, I'll be counting on the number 5, Jeff Engler. This is my long shot play of the day, October time. He was a second-time starter, Colt buy-in captured. Now, on debut, the goal was the turf. It didn't pan out that way. I thought the horse didn't break the sharpest, and then from there, it was just a lackluster effort. So I'm counting on the turf today. The other thing I wanted to note, this is a half to our Adios Jersey, who won the Charlestown Oaks yesterday. I know it was a dirt race, but obviously the mare's been a bit of a producer, so just want to make a note on that one. Going for a price.
Yeah, and you got some experience, too, in that start. So if nothing else, he kind of knows the game a little bit now. He chased and tired. Showing speed against maiden special weights is never a bad sign on the drop. A well-drawn here. Stretches out to 2 turns today. Not out of the mix at all.
And one other one, the 9, Eye of the Temple out of the Antonio Sano barn. Another one dropping. Another one, they've been trying to get on the turf, and plans haven't necessarily panned out that way. Most recently finished 5th against maiden special weight competition, going 5 furlongs over the slop.
Yeah, and he's a half to Katie's Eyes, who's 5 for 11, predominantly on the dirt, but did earn over $200,000, so there's some pedigree here. Third start is typically the best you're going to get. The drop, turf, they've tried to get the turf a few times, so there's reason to believe this one fires a little bit today.
Well, that's how we see the first half of the Saturday card. We'll be back after the commercial break to see your Rainbow Six ticket. Welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Today we've gone through the first half of the card. We'll start here now in race 7, a $6,250 claiming event going a mile on the dirt. This is where the Rainbow 6 gets started with that $550,000 guarantee. And with these open claimers, Brian, I think this is a tough leg to maybe start the sequence.
Yeah, it really is. You're going to see my ticket here in a second. Yesterday I was $16.80, much more tightly wound, and today it's a lot different, $72 today. So I'm spreading here. We'll talk about it in a second. Then race 8, I've got 2 deep spreads here, 1, 7, 9, 11, 12 in race 8. It's the other 2-year-old race, 5 furlongs sprinting. I went inside with Patrick Biancone, half the diamond ops this horse is, so that clearly is a good thing. Sneaky Cheeky will show a replay on in a little bit. Opalina, Brushed with the Law, Dove in Charge. So there's a lot going on there. Here's the single in race 7, Out Fox, who I think, we mentioned it earlier, comes down from Saratoga for Bill Mott off a very, very fast debut against Open Company. The deepest spread on the card to me is race 10. I just couldn't really figure it out. I wanted as much coverage as possible, so we went that way there. 5, 6, 8 in race 11, and this is the other division of the Stallion Series. Cajun Magic is obviously very, very good. King Cab I thought was very impressive on debut, and then Catton as well for Ralph Nix. And then we've got a single in the last, much like yesterday, where my horse did run but finished second. It's the use one or use them all angle. I certainly can't use them all when I'm already $72 getting to the finale. I took a shot with Asymptomatic. There's a name for you, huh? Third lifetime start, second on the drop, second off the layoff, second time for David Fox's barn. I think there's a lot of reason that he really moves forward today. Second Lasix as well. $72 on what is a very, very tough sequence.
We gave an affordable ticket yesterday, and this card is just so difficult to get through. So $72 for that Rainbow 6. We'll look at race 7 specifically now. I'm curious to see kind of who you used on top in here in terms of selections, because I think it is a little tricky. I'm surprised. We have the top 3 in the same order. We'll start with Candy Crush 'em, and actually we can cue the replay up for this one. Just looking at the most recent performance here on July 31st. This race includes Candy Crush 'em, Ranger Up, Mystical Moon. Actually, 2 other runners as well competed in this race. And kind of looking at the stretch run, it's anyone's race at this point. You're not really sure who's going to get by here. You see Ranger Up on the outside as the number 6 in here, and then flying from the back is the number 4, Candy Crush 'em. He's just trying to get to them in time, but he's just not going to be able to.
Yeah, it's really tough to separate them, isn't it? And so I went with Candy Crush 'em. You have to use as many as your budget allows here. It's a very, very tough race to have any kind of confidence. Jaramillo gets aboard Candy Crush 'em in here. We're drawn well to be inside. I don't think he has to be on the lead. He can stalk a little bit if necessary. So it's kind of, I just feel his overall body of work. Yes, he was 3rd last time, but I think he might get a better trip today.
Yeah, and last time he was towards the back of the pack.
Yeah.
Usually he's forwardly placed, and they decided to have him rate. He only had a couple beaten early on. The big thing is the fractions are a little slower than he usually saw too, so maybe not ideal for him, but I like his post position today, and he's the type of horse, he's hard knocking. You can't leave him out. Now, directly to his outside, we both landed on the number 2, Omega Moon, in the 2nd spot. Disappointed last time out was that pace setter and tired, but prior to that has shown a really affinity for going towards the front and being able to hang on.
Yeah, and he's the speed of the speed in here, and I would expect him to make the lead, and he probably will not have to run as hard as he did last time. So the way I kind of handicapped this race, you probably did too. The 2 goes, the one's able to get outside, maybe sit off him, and maybe that's the path to victory. But I don't think there's any doubt with Gonzalez getting aboard here that Omega Moon is the speed of the speed and the one to beat, and probably the one to catch, probably the one to beat.
Be interesting to see how the race number 7 pans out. Race 8 is a 5 furlong turf sprint, maiden special weight competition. These are for 2-year-old fillies. This is another race. I thought it was maybe wide open. We both landed on here on the number 7, Sneaky Cheeky, which I know you don't know the backstory. I've been biased.
Yeah.
I touted this horse last time out, and I thought it was a pretty good 3rd.
Yeah, you told me last time. We're going to show the replay, actually, too. And what you don't really see, we're going to show it entering the far turn. He gets swooped up really wide. He's barely in your picture here, and he broke way behind. And I thought she really ran on nicely. And typically with these first-time starters, when things don't go their way or they break way behind, they just quit and they don't run. But she gets fanned, 7, 8 wide, and she's still going to run on. She drops back out of the picture again. But here she is showing late interest with the White Blaze on the outside. And I think off that tightener, Ashley. And with that behind her, and you know, obviously we're banking on a much more alert beginning today. I think she'll mean business in here. And, you know, it's tough to know what you're getting from the first-time starters. You can check the daily double will pays. I think that's very important because that 550 guarantee Rainbow Pick 6 kicks off in the 7th. You can look into the double will pay, see if any of these firsters are live. I mean, we'll talk about the one here in a second. A horse like Diamond Wow is supposed to be live and taking money. Conversely, if she's not, it's not a good sign.
The only other thing I'll touch upon, Sneaky Cheeky, the main reason I liked her on debut, Jeff Engler does well with 2-year-olds, but kind of looking at the mare, she was second behind Groupie Doll in the Madison, and then all 3 of her foals to race prior to this one, they were all originally trained by Peter Urton. Just to see this one get in a different barn, I just thought it was kind of an intriguing angle. Now, the next horse we'll go to is towards the outside, the number 9, Opalina. So half to Red Hornet, who made his debut about a month and a half ago up at Arlington Park, was a 76 buyer in that win. And I thought this was another one, a strong debut, was second to Fulminate, going 5 furlongs on the turf, now just making that second start. Yeah,
I mean, not a lot of horses in here have experience, but of the ones that do, she's clearly the best. That was a very, very good effort on debut. You mentioned Fulminate, who's a nice horse. So I think this filly from this outside post, if she moves forward just a little bit, she might be throwing down a race the rest of these are going to have trouble to deal with.
And you've mentioned the slew of first-time starters in here. The number 1, Diamond Wow, on the rail for Patrick Biancone by a hat trick, out of a hat trick mare, I should say, who I believe Patrick also campaigned and raced for a bit during her career. The big thing here I saw was that sharp bullet work on August 23rd.
Yeah, and this is the one that I mentioned, Half to Diamond Ops, who's Patrick has done so well with dirt, turf, it doesn't matter. Graded stakes winner on both. We're very familiar with him here in South Florida. The rail is tricky, going 5 for a first-time starter. You know, if you blink and you don't break, you're in a real bad spot. But that August 23rd bullet, as you kind of alluded to, says this one's got a lot of speed.
Our first of the FTBOA Florida Sire Stakes is race number 9. This is the Susan's Girl Division, $200,000 on the line. They'll be going 7 furlongs here over the main track. This is also the start of the late pick 4, which I thought made for an interesting sequence. I just went too deep in here. I know you singled the Bill Mott runner, the number 7 Outfox. I was just so impressed with the number 6 My Sassenach in the Desert Vixen Division just about a month ago when she was an 8 1/4 length winner, so I used her. Race 10, I know this is a race that you spread. I spread as well. I'll use 3 runners. One of my horses that I was interested in is scratched out of here, so I went to the number 2, Crystal Coast, the 6, Rosa Star, and the 8, Sunshine City. I thought about singling in here, to be honest. I have a lot of faith in Sunshine City, but some of these other horses in terms of figures, there's a possibility they could win as well. And the other Florida Sire Stakes, that's the Affirmed Division, I'll use 2 in there. I go to the number 5, Cajun's Magic, and my long shot in this race is the number 8, Cat, and I was really impressed with the debut here on July 31st. And you said it best, race 12. You either use one or you use a bunch. I used a bunch of horses in here. I think the 5 looks tough, as well as the 11 and the 12, but I was going to leave the 10 off, High Press. Just thought he might be part of that early pace scenario at a price, so I wanted to use him. So a $24 play for this late pick 4, but diving more specifically into the Susan's Girl, I thought it was an interesting race to see Bill Mott sending a filly here, the winner from the previous divisions going. So I'll let you kick it off. I know you have a lot of faith in Outfox here, and I know you saw this horse debut at Saratoga in a maiden special weight event there where this one finished 3rd.
Yeah, I mean, Echo Zulu ran off that day for Steve Asmussen. The runner-up, Lady Scarlet, now I will mention this. She was on the turf the other day at Saratoga, and she was awful. But obviously that race was on the dirt. It was a very, very fast race. They paid $360,000 for a daughter of Valiant Minister, who I looked up was 1 for 1 for Bob Baffert, never ran again, a $3,000 sire. So obviously this horse looked like, you know, no pun intended, $1 million at the sale. Ran very, very well, ran very, very fast. I think she'll be bet strongly today, and as good as My Sassenach is and has been, these races are pretty slow. This was a extremely fast race at Saratoga. I think she's going to be really, really problematic with an alert beginning here.
And the number 6, My Sassenach, big winner last time out here in the Desert Vixen division, was able to just sit off the pace and make a late move. And really, in that race, no one was really rolling late. Maybe a couple runners, but the pace setter, Ruffa Red Knot, surrendered. She was a first-time starter, ended up finishing 3rd in there. Demurley will be in this race again, so they'll have to square off. But I just thought it was so impressive. I know David Brady had high hopes for this one, had a little bit of a health issue before the first start, and they had to use some time with this one, but has been pretty impressive in those 2 starts.
Yeah, I mean, she stands well above the rest of the locals here, at least what they've done so far. gives the impression she's a filly that wants to run on, too. Again, we mentioned this at the top of the show. We're going 7 furlongs now, so you can't just break, be better than the field, and win. That's not going to happen anymore. And the fact that she's settled in both career starts, I think, bodes well for her. I think if Outfox can't handle the ship, if things don't work well, maybe if she was dressed up off a big figure, clearly my Sassenach can double up here.
And quickly, the number 2, Rachel's Rock, is a first-time starter that you use in the second spot. This one's trained by Ralph Nix, was supposed to debut in the Desert Vixen, but plans did not go accordingly, and this one was a late scratch out of there, but seems to be working lights out for this race.
Yeah, what was his line? She's
a halfway first-time starter.
A halfway first-time starter. So she's a half to CZ, who we know well, earned over $486,000. That bullet in the holster on August 5th says she's got a lot of talent. Being asked to do a lot today, there's no doubt about it. But they don't give away $200,000, and she's clearly got some talent. And the fact that Ralph's running her as a kind of sort of first-time starter says he likes her too.
Looks to be an interesting division for the 2-year-old fillies. Race 10 kicks off that final pick 3 of the day, a 1.16 mile turf event for 3-year-old fillies or 4-year-olds and upward, which have not won 2 races in their career. $35,000 is the claiming price. We'll start with the number 4, Riveting Spirit, who one of my horses was scratched. This is who I opted in, your top selection in here. Broke the maiden last time out, going a mile here against state-bred competition.
Yeah, this is my long shot play of the day. 10-1 on the morning line. I thought the run last time was much better. Third start now of the form cycle. David Fox, 29%. With horses off a win. So he gets them good. He knows how to keep them staying good. Clearly she's got to improve. She faces winners for the first time. That can be, problematic too. But she's going the right way. She's only run 4 times as well. And whoever you like in here, whoever you think is favored in here, isn't that far above her on paper. So at a square number, I'll take a shot.
I go to the number 8, Sunshine City, for Bobby DeBona, who last time out was a winner, picking up that 4th lifetime win in her career, the 2nd locally over the Gulfstream Park turf course. The big thing with her, she wants the lead usually. When she's kind of uncontested and can get comfortable, she usually ends up in the winner's circle. I'm a little worried she may get some pressure in here, but looking at the other records in here, we talk about records maybe not appealing, such as the number 6, Rosa Star. I have more confidence in this 3-year-old filly.
You don't like the 1 for 43? 4 wins out of 13 lifetime starts. She likes winning races. She's fast, as you mentioned. If she doesn't get the lead, then maybe all bets are off, but she's clearly the one to beat in here. Bobby does a great job reading the condition book, and, this gal's been in starter optional claimers. Now she's in for 35, so we may be playing a little game of poker here, but she's a big, big threat.
We'll move on to the 2nd division of the Florida Sire Stakes today. This is the affirmed division for those 2-year-old colts and geldings, 7 furlongs on the dirt. We'll start with the number 6, King Cab, who I know you use on top in here, who is just one of the horses now making their 2nd start, where the debut was just so impressive.
Yeah, that was it. And, look, this horse was 2-1 in a 12-horse field, and that is a ton of tote action for Eddie Polisa Jr., who's having a really, really good meet. Settled just a little bit, drew off late, is going to have to settle here as well. Trippy on the bottom is a little sprinty, but, Trippy did win the Flamingo going 9, I believe, back in the day. Noble Bird on top. So I think this is a trip within this horse's scope. We talked about it yesterday, Ashley. We'll talk about it again today. I think of the 2-year-old divisions, this is the one that's a lot more wide open.
I agree. And directly to the inside is the morning line favorite at 7-5. That's Cajun Magic, owned by Stone Hedge LLC, trained by Michael Yates. It's the son of Cajun Breeze, who I've just loved his progression. I think when you look at his first race, he got a little tired late, but he was beat by a Revolution. It was a great performance. The next time out, he was a runaway winner. But for me, it was his most recent race that stands out because he didn't have to be on the front. He was able to sit and be patient, make his move on the outside to beat who? His stablemate, also trained by Michael Yates.
Yeah, and I think that's very, very important. Where he was dueling early in his first 2 starts, he stretches out to 6 a little bit, a homebred. He settles, and that's going to be very, very important. I think that's a huge asset to have here as some of these speedballs that have never really sat behind horses. He's now shown he can do it. It's another club in the bag. He's clearly the horse to beat in here.
Now, a horse that we both use underneath here in our selections is the number 8, Catton, out of the Ralph Nix barn. And this is a replay I wanted to show because this one debuted for $50,000 maiden claiming race, and I thought it was a huge performance. You can see him right here was the number 5 horse on this occasion. He's in behind a wall of horses now. Amisael Jaramillo was aboard him in this race and is just waiting for a seam. Can't really find one for a while, it seems, right? And when he finally gets into a spot, it's not maybe ideal for this firster, but I thought it was a great race experience for him to find a narrow opening on the inside and kind of move up from there.
Yeah, you don't see 2-year-olds shut off like that and just wait for their cue. And this is a very, very polished performance. Typically, 2-year-olds, especially first-time starters, aren't crazy about coming up the rail. but he did everything he asked and Jaramillo asked and more. This is a very, very impressive performance. This is like an older horse kind of performance, the way he ran. And he's going to get plenty of speed to sit off of again today, and he's going to be a square price. I think sometimes we knock horses that maybe debut for a tag, and we kind of overlook the fact that, you still have to take $50,000 out of your pocket and claim this horse. So it's not necessarily a negative. That's a big, big number, and he really ran well, and I think he's a player in here. I think you have to use him.
And when you looked at Skipperini, the one thing you noticed, it looked like Catton maybe for a second on the inside. I don't know. It didn't seem like he wanted to go by, but once he realized that was kind of the task at order, he was able to, and he drew clear, and he looked kind of easy doing it. So for me, I just thought 5.5 to 7 might suit him well, and he's definitely going to be, hopefully, a price 15 to 1 on the morning line. Move on to the nightcap. Race 12, 7.5 furlongs on the turf, $16,000 maiden claimers, 3-year-olds and upward. You said it best. Either kind of spread in here or you take a stance. We both like the number 5, Asymptomatic, the horse that you use on top. This is an Irish-bred gelding out of the David Fox barn. Just had that one start off that almost a year layoff to the date, where this one, it was an okay performance. It was against $25,000 maiden claimers.
Yeah, he made a nice middle move, and then he predictably tired. I mean, he hadn't, like you said, he hadn't been out for basically 364 days. They bet him that day. I think that's a very, very positive sign. Added Lasix. So we go second Lasix today, and I just, you have the 11 and 12, and they're major players. I've got the 11 and 3rd, but the 5 gets a much better draw in here, too. And I think going 7.5 or about 7.5, the draw can be very, very key. You would think Asymptomatic puts his best foot forward today off that return. To me, he's only got to go this way.
Looking at the number 11, Campeador, this horse I just found intriguing last time out was at the 12.5 level, going 7.5 furlongs, and was second throughout. Now, the interesting thing about how the race played out, there's a runaway pace setter in there. Didn't look like one of the favorites. I know this one was favored. The other horse that took a lot of play in there was the winner, Captain Ziggy. I didn't know if the field was ever going to catch up to this one. So it was interesting to see the dynamics and the race flow there. I just think off the most recent performance, this one wants the turf. Out of the last 3, only one effort's been on the turf, and it's been by far his best.
Yeah, and he's got the tactical speed to theoretically negate this wide draw. He's got to break alertly, and then Edgard can send him a little bit and hopefully secure position into the first turn. If he's in a good spot going into the first turn, yeah, he's going to be really tough.
And finally, we'll touch upon your second selection here. The number 8, Kochu, who last time out was 3rd on the turf. First time on the turf in a couple of races, but it was going 5 ace, now going to stretch out in distance.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's kind of got to be second. I thought this was a good run last time, getting back to the turf. The blinkers came off that day as well. We're better drawn today. Speed enough here, too, to get the right kind of trip. Should be a square price, too. Again, I like the 5. After that, kind of all bets were off.
Well, that's how we see the jam-packed 12-race card today, but we're not over yet. We still want to go through the lightning round. We've got a lot of items on today's lightning round. A lot of exciting things have been happening the last couple of days. First off, let's start with Medina Spirit, kind of returning to the races, was supplemented into the Shared Belief Stakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see him back, if nothing else. The Kentucky Derby winner right now, and back to the races, and what they hope to be will be a fall campaign. He ran relatively well when last seen in the Preakness, so they're not giving it away tomorrow in the Share Belief with Rock Your World in there, but certainly all eyes will be on him.
Well, on the topic of 3-year-olds, it is the Travers Stakes today, a very busy day at Saratoga that I know you take part in a lot of the time, but you're joining us, so we're lucky to have you here. Just looking at kind of the highlight here, obviously Essential Quality, yeah. He's the big name. Yeah, I had Brad on a show I do up there the other day, Brad Cox. He was very confident, as he should be. 7 for 8, 2-year-old champion, soon be the 3-year-old champion if he wins today. He ran big in the Jim Dandy. He's just a better horse than these. Midnight Bourbon might get loose. So I think he's interesting. I like Masca Parade a little bit to be second. I thought he ran very, very underrated and big in the Jim Dandy. But, yeah, all eyes are on Essential Quality. He's legitimately odds-on in there. I kind of like the number 3, Keep Me in Mind. I think in terms of trips, he never gets the right trip that really works out for him, but he looks to maybe be a contender for minor shares in there. And we talked about Florida Sire Stakes, a lot of eyes on 2-year-olds today, but that's also going to be the case tomorrow. We have 2 maiden special weight events on the card, one at a mile on the dirt. I believe that one's race 9, and then earlier in the day, race 2's 5 furlongs on the turf. I thought looking at the races in general, I have the past performances right here, kind of intriguing. I really found a lot of interest in race number 9. The Sons of Gunrider and just the offspring in general, they've been phenomenal here. We saw a big winner, Papa Cat, who then went out to Del Mar and got that grade 2 win. So we have a second-time starter by Gunrunner by the name of Machine Gun Preacher in race number 9, trained by Kelsey Danner. Debut lackluster, but not an ideal draw for him. Once again, maybe not the best of draws, but I think he's intriguing on the stretch out.
Yeah, these gun runners have proven to be very, very precocious. He had a runner up in Saratoga, run a second in the Grade 2 Saratoga Special gun night. And this one, you're right, back on the rail, which is an issue. Took a little money on debut at 10-1. You would think he's a little more now accustomed to racing. Maybe we get a little more alert beginning from the rail tomorrow, and that could really give him a big chance.
And then yesterday it was announced the Florida champions were all of the divisions were announced. The 2020 Florida Bred Horse of the Year, Starship Jubilee, is just probably one of my favorite stories in racing. I think you could have claimed her for $16,000. She went on to win quite a few races.
Yeah, I talked to Kevin Tart a few times over the past several years with this mare, and she was so cool. She won a few graded stakes at Saratoga, finally got her grade 1 up at Woodbine, and she just ran every single time. I think over $2 million in the bank, and she was just one of those cool, hard-knocking mares that just gives you everything.
And a couple other things to note there, 2-year-old champion Golden Pal for the Colts and Geldings, for the Phillies, Princess Secret. And in terms of trainers, 2 of our staples here in South Florida, Ralph Nix, he was recognized as the leading Florida trainer of Florida Breds by earnings and by black type wins. And then in terms of Florida Breds by wins, Kathleen O'Connell, she won 13 times this honor. So exciting to see how our Florida horses do, and congrats to all of the connections there. And one more item on the list today, the Charlestown Oaks was last night. It was a late night to stay up for this race. One of our local trainers here, Georgina Baxter, won with our Adios jersey.
Yeah, and what you didn't see is run into the first turn where Paco just absolutely quartered this horse. He did a great job securing the lead, and she just, look at her, re-breaking late, and a really, really impressive performance, up to 5 for 5 now.
She beat some nice horses yesterday. You mentioned undefeated now. I alluded to it earlier. I'll be rooting for her half-brother who's racing here earlier on in the card. The name of that one's October Time. So great to see this one, and it'll be interesting to see what Georgina does next with our Adios jersey. That's how we see the lightning round today. We've gone through the 12 race cards, so now we got to turn it up to Pete Aiello for track conditions and changes, and we'll see you guys in a couple minutes.